Mount Bridges, Ontario.
Look at those disc wheels.
Yeah.
Canadian Ford industrial wheels.
So this isn't even, some of them, like there's another Model T truck here that has a cover that would go over the wooden spoke wheels. These are actual stamped steel disc wheels to replace the wooden spokes. And this is a Canadian vehicle. Now Ford in 1912 didn't build this truck. So it would have been somebody similar to the fire truck would have had a Model T and then converted it into a truck to use for, hotels, somebody on the farm, or any number of uses where you would need a pickup truck.
Thank you very much.
Beautiful.
Farmers love Model Ts because it also run farm equipment off of the rear wheels. Jack it up, attach a pulley to your corn husker or whatever, and it would run that for you. Excuse me, sir, we have a speed limit.
Even if you do it correctly.
These really are a laboratory for study, and unrestored cars, harder to find nowadays, but really are becoming more popular because they are so authentic. And like Glenn said, if somebody's going to restore an underslung, this would be the model for it almost. Do you know the history behind it? It's been in Metro Detroit its whole life. I think that was the one in my garage. I think. Where was it? A barn in northern Oakland County. Since when it was in the barn, was it the original owners? Okay. And then from the barn, it went to where? You got it. You from Oakland County. How did you find it? What? Yeah. 1909 EMF 30 Touring, owned by, I just lost it. Where'd it go? Peter McIntyre of London, Ontario, Canada. EMF. Everett Metzger Flanders, or as they used to make fun of the car, every morning fix it. It got that big a laugh back then, too.
Doing good today, Mark. Anyway.
What can we say about this, Glenn? Everett Metzger Flanders.
This is a 30 horsepower trucks. Ford didn't offer this body style at this time, so you would once again have a chassis, and there were a lot of companies that built aftermarket bodies for Model Ts. There's probably more aftermarket parts for Ts than any car ever built.
And still,
yeah. But you could buy. There were numerous companies built bodies. This one looks like it's almost entirely all made out of oak. Beautiful. It has roll-up side curtains. So on a nice day, as it is now, you'd have the curtains rolled up. If it's wintertime or raining, they unroll and they have little isinglass windows in there to help keep the weather away from you.
Thank you very much.
Great car. Thank you.
Same time. You guys married? Never know it. What else?
Well, this is the first six-cylinder car we've seen today. Six-cylinder cars early on were quite rare. Ford dabbled with them in 1967, quit building them. The first probably mass-produced car, six-cylinder in this country was the Winton, which began in, I believe, 7, building sixes. You can see how much smoother the 6 runs than the 4, and that was its big draw. They ran a lot smoother. Nice, powerful, 44 horsepower. So they have quite a bit of torque. Nice, beautiful driving car. 3-speed or 4-speed? 4-speed. Okay, so 4th overdrive. This has a 4-speed transmission with overdrive. You know, everybody thinks everybody just came up with overdrive back in the 70s to get better fuel economy. Well, here's a car that had it back in 1912. So, is this an extremely noisy overdrive? No? Okay, most of the overdrive, this overdrive is actually quite quiet. Most of the overdrives on early cars with straight cut gears, they're extremely noisy, so most people that have them don't drive them in overdrive very often.
Hayward's built a 60 horsepower in 1914. That's a pretty big engine for 1914. So is this 44 horsepower though. When you consider what the Model T have at that time, about 20?
20, yep.
20 horsepower?
Great car.
Really nice car.
Thank you very much.
And your number is
122.
122. You got that one, Glenn?
Oh, this guy has a great name. This is a 1912 Ford T Touring owned by Thomas Miller from Livonia, Michigan.
Well, let's just get this out of the way first,
Yeah.
okay? Car number 122 is an early 1912 Hayes-bodied Model T Touring. It is driven by Thomas A. Miller from Livonia, Michigan. Thomas has been a participant at the Old Car Festival for 20 years. Often seen him behind the wheel driving through the village, but this is the first year he has entered a car. The car he is driving took 2 years to restore. Tom and his father found parts in Missouri, Massachusetts, Illinois, and Pennsylvania. In some cases, Tom had machined parts to fit the car, and he was on his back hooking up parts only a matter of days ago. Is that true, Tom? Yeah?
Very cool.
Tom has a unique birthday. He was born September 27th. His birth forced the Millers to leave another car show early after his mom went into labor after riding in a Model T while exiting the show field.
That'll do it.
Boy, have you got a history of old cars. Well, coincidentally, Ford produced the first Model T offered for sale on September 27th, 1908, so Tom is turning 21 on Model T's 100th birthday.
Yay!
And Tom, are you sitting? Tom, your parents are pulling an interesting trick on you today. These last 2 years, you've been hard at work helping to build your birthday present.
I think Tom deserves a great big happy birthday.
This 1912 Ford is yours to enjoy. Happy birthday! I think the least Tom could do is supply us all with cake and ice cream. He said his dad ate his. Hey Tom, I wouldn't complain if I were you.
No, today's not the day.
Congratulations.
Yeah, it's excellent.
You know what I got when I turned 21?
A bill?
A used action figure.
Did you? Transformer, huh?
No, it was a Barbie. That's why I am the way I am today. Okay.
My grandson said, I said,
I think this is a Model T.
camping out the lake.
It is.
Oh,
It's 6:39.
that's great.
When do I get my birthday gift? Today. Yeah, right, fat chance. What are you, 6:39? I'm sorry, I'm weeping over here about my birthday. What number are you?
639.
Oh, sorry. 639, we have a 1912 Ford Model T pickup owned by Jack Zimmer of Ann Arbor, no, sorry, St. Clair, Michigan. Did they skip a line? Is that right, St. Clair, Michigan? Yeah? Okay, good.
But this car is a 12, and I'm assuming this car started life as a touring.
He hasn't been out to the lake since.
Right. Okay, this, as we were talking earlier, you know, you could buy a body from many different companies to to take just a chassis of a Model T and turn it into like a depot hack or a pickup or whatever. Well, whoever owned this car, it started life as a touring car, and they cut it off behind the driver's seat. They would cut the sill off, take it off, and then either buy or manufacture their own pickup body. This was a very nicely done pickup body, and you see they even added some oak trim up around the front door entry there. All oak pickup bed body. But this is probably the nicest cutoff car that I've seen. It's a beautiful job on it. When was it converted? Do you know? About 1919. So it was just an old used car. But cars didn't last as long. A car 2 or 3 years old would be considered ancient back at this time because cars were evolving so quickly. And so this just became probably worth, you know, $50 or something. And so the owner decided to turn it into a pickup truck. And very nice job. Thank you. As an exhaust whistle.
definitely go without. My boy said Cadillac, all the way around. We take it down and drink.
The police department vehicle is a 1915 Ford owned by Gary Jacobs from Ada, Michigan. And the third pickup is car number 650, owned in 1916, owned by Jim Cook from Sycamore, Ohio. And I'm sorry, but my page is missing to tell you, what's your name in the front depot hack? Doyle? Doyle Bigelow from Glendale, Arizona. I think you get the long distance trophy. When did you leave? They drove the Model T here from Glendale, Arizona since Thursday. No? Oh, last Thursday. Okay. And they had the car in a trailer. But anyhow, they definitely get the long distance award, I think, today. And it stayed attached to the motorhome all the way here, so that's good. We have, once again, 3 examples of what you could do with the Model T chassis. The front, once again, we have another very nice depot hack. And then we have what's called a C-cab panel truck, similar to the Cadillac that we had earlier, paddy wagon. As soon as it gets the police department sign, it becomes a paddy wagon as opposed to a panel truck. And then once again, a converted touring car that was converted in 1925. So once again, the car was 9 years old, just was a used car, not worth much, so they wanted a truck. So rather than go buy one, they just cut the back off their Model T Touring. So great cars. Thank you, everybody. Is that a cranking injury? Oh, geez. The gentleman in the depot hack, you see, has I think a broken arm from changing a tire with the rim fly off as he was inflating it. As he was inflating the tire, the rim blew, which is one of the many hazards of owning early cars, and broke his arm. So we wish you well. T's are fun to drive one-handed too. Thank you, everybody.
Fourth, 1896, and the original is in a case in the museum. This is a replica that was built in 1963. Henry, for him it was really just to prove a point that he could do it, okay? He did run the car from Detroit out to Dearborn. He probably only had the car about 6 months and realized there were too many things that he wanted to fix on it. There were too many things that needed to be updated, improved, and so he sold the car, and the car went through a couple of different owners while Henry went on to build his second car, to be involved in the Detroit Automobile Company, to build Sweepstakes, the race car that's in the tent behind us. Finally, of course, in 1903, formed Ford Motor Company, and in 1904 had the opportunity to buy this car back. He had sold it for $200, bought it back for $60, and he kept the original after that ever since.
Solania, is that correct? Hey, this isn't a, was this sold as a chassis, or did they actually build this as their? Okay, so this was actually in their catalog. A lot of the other companies early on didn't actually offer a vehicle like this, but Cadillac actually had this in their catalog to use for, obviously, commercial use. Obviously it couldn't carry a lot, but they were great, like for laundries and more lightweight type, but high volume bulk type delivery. That obviously most trucking was still done with horse and buggies by this. This car has a 1-cylinder engine. You can the flywheel, you can see it. The engine's under the floor. The gas tank, the water tank is up front, and the radiator's hanging. So it's actually a false front. That's not the engine up front. The engine's under the car, and it's a 1-cylinder laying flat underneath along the frame rails. Chain drive. They're very good cars. The engine was designed by a guy named Henry Leland. when they started Cadillac in 1903, and Cadillac actually was the remnants of the second company that Henry Ford started, the Henry Ford Company. And Henry kind of refused to release cars, so Henry Leland came in, took stock of what they had, and ended up running the company and renamed them Cadillac.
This was also at a time when the horse had a predominance on the thoroughfares of major cities, and these newfangled automobiles started to make inroads not only into for passenger cars, but as you can see, into the commercial area. They were, as a matter of fact, much cheaper to operate, if you will, than a horse and buggy was. And I think a lot of the horse owners and what do they call those stables are starting to quake in their boots a tad.
Yeah, a lot of the auto companies, can't talk today, actually ran in their advertising that it costs nothing to use when it's just sitting. And that was in direct reference to a horse, whether you're out riding it or not. You still had to pay to feed it and everything else you need to do to a horse.
These are a lot easier to clean up after, too. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Beautiful.
Oh, this is car number 20?
Doesn't
Yes.
look like a commercial vehicle.
No. No, unless it's a commercial for Rio.
Oh, okay.
This is a 1905 Rio 5-passenger touring Model A owned by Elroy and Cheryl Kittle? Keitel. Okay. And you are from Saranac, Michigan. Where is Saranac? Near Grand Rapids? Pretty near Grand Rapids. Well, let's see. Rio actually stands for the initials of Ransom E. Boy, it really quiets down when it warms up, doesn't it?
It's an electric.
It's an electric. Ransom Eli Olds, who initially started with the Oldsmobile. We have a few of those Curb Dash Oldsmobiles here today. Hopefully we'll have one passed in review. The Olds family was a long-time family in Lansing, building machines, and they were in the machinery works, and their initial cars built by Ransom, they dabbled in electrics and even in steam cars, and finally settled on the internal combustion engine. Sir, what's your number? Finally settled on the internal combustion engine. Okay, yeah, I'm trying. You try. Unless you can do better, be quiet. Where was I? Oh, built the Oldsmobile. He eventually left the Oldsmobile company and was pretty much forbidden to use his own name. So rather than using his name, he put his initials on the car and built the Rio automobile. Glenn, anything?
Yep, this is a two-cylinder Rio. Once again, the hood is false. There's no engine under there. The engine, once again, is under the floor. This is a two-cylinder opposed, one cylinder pointing forward, one cylinder pointing rearwards. They also built one-cylinder cars. This is a two-cylinder, two-speed planetary transmission. And a planetary transmission is basically just like an automatic transmission of today, except instead of using electronics and...
Now, it is a lot easier. This has an electric starter installed on it, because it does get a little bit easier to electric start it rather than crank start it, because well, it can be a little dangerous sometimes to crank start an automobile. Starters really didn't appear on automobiles until 1912 with the Cadillac. Thank you. Okay, now this is I do not remember how. Right, and number 36, this is a 1907 Wolf, W-O-L-F-E, model 57, owned by Harry Pierce, correct, of Dearborn, Michigan. No, I'm sorry, that's the wrong one. Yeah, Harry Pierce of Shelby Township, Michigan. Now, I didn't know that much about the Wolf. Did you know much about it? I never heard of it.
Very little. Heard of it, haven't seen one.
This was made in Minneapolis, Minnesota from 1907 to 1909. Maurice Wolf was a car salesman in Minneapolis selling Cadillacs. It says here he sold a Cadillac to Chief Big Mouth of the Crow tribe in Billings, Montana. 3 years later, he joined Wilcox Brothers, and they formed the Wilcox Motor Company for production of the Wolf. They featured either water-cooled or air-cooled four-cylinder engines. And let's see what else. marquee name was changed to Wilcox in 1909, and that was built until 1911.
This is water cooled. Yeah, this is a water cooled 4-cylinder.
Move it up a little bit.
I'm assuming a 3-speed sliding gear trans. Yep. So unlike the Rio and the Cadillac, this has a more conventional sliding gear transmission. But early transmissions were very difficult to drive. You had the double clutch, and every car drove a little bit differently. You'd have to double clutch some cars, you'd have to shift fast, some you had to shift very slowly. So a manual trans car was quite tricky to drive.
Do you have any idea of the history of the car, how it ended up from Minneapolis to Dearborn? You really got to speak up. It was purchased from Minneapolis. How was it in the same family for any particular length? The original owner, which was, well,
So you're the third owner.
This from, this was in his 90s when it was purchased from Minneapolis, correct? And I assume it was exactly like this when you guys no.
Yeah.
Well, then you got robbed.
How many wolves are there still in existence, as far as you know? He was just saying there's probably only 4 wolves still in existence.
So if we got them all together here, we'd have a
car.
pack.
Yeah. Start the Wolf Owners Club.
The Wolf Owners Club. Thank you very,
Thank you very much. That's one of the great things about the Old Car Festival. You'll see cars here that you will see nowhere else in the world.
And not only see them, but see them operate.
See them run, hear them run,
Hear them run,
smell them.
like we just did, smell them.
Driver from nearly 100 years ago, and it's been modernized a little bit. You've got a starter on it, I assume? Yeah, it's been modernized a little bit. There's an electric starter that was put on it in the 50s. And this car is even older. Well, it's a replica of the car that's even older. This is a replica that we built of Henry Ford's very first race car. It predates Ford Motor Company. His first company that was called the Detroit Automobile Company failed, and he was looking for a way to reestablish his bona fides with people. He decided to build a race car. He built the race car, looked exactly like this. Beat a guy named Alexander Whitten, who was one of the major automobile manufacturers at the time, and that helped him to get enough money and notoriety to start his second company, which also failed actually, and eventually he moved on to his third company that was Ford Motor Company. But this is a replica of Henry